In this video, I'll be introducing the monitors component of the dashboard. Now this is where things start to get pretty cool. So the first thing we'll do is we'll open up the course contents of Chapter 6 monitors and the code sample of monitors. And the new components are the CPU monitor, disk monitor, memory monitor, and network monitor. Just like in the last video, we've kept the table object here, and we kept the two grid objects as well. This will help show us a practical example of how a dashboard could look when you're monitoring servers. So we're going to keep the server information, the server processes, and the server services, and now add a CPU monitor, disk monitor, memory monitor, and network monitor. Now in the CPU monitor, we see that we're using a new command called new UD monitor with a title CPU % processor time, a type of monitor of line, so it's going to be a line graph, and the data point history is 20. So what this means is every time this monitor refreshes, it's going to keep at least 20 points of data, or it's going to keep at most 20 points of data. The refresh interval, this is basically how many times it's going to be running the code in the endpoint and pasting that data basically as a point on the graph, on the line graph. And the background color is going to be a hex value, and we're going to expand this window out a little bit, and the code that's running the endpoint is passed into the out ED monitor data. This is similar to the grid, how it passes it into the out UD grid data, but this time it's in the out UD monitor data. Similarly, it's the same for the disk monitor, memory monitor, and network monitor. There's a little bit more code in the memory monitor and network monitor just because it's a little bit more complex to get those values. So we'll go ahead and collapse all of this. Scoot back our window, highlight everything, hit F8 to run, navigate to localhost 8080, and we'll see our previous table, our two grids, and now our 4 UD monitors. Now you'll notice that this is pretty cramped. You can't see much. You can either maximize your window to give it a little more real estate so it looks less crowded, or what you can do is you can size it a little bit smaller. And what happens is on the new UD layout command, where it's expected to have 4 columns, it basically detects and says, oh, I don't have enough pixels to show this, so I'm going to cut this in half and dynamically change it from columns of 4 to columns of 2. Now, if you're familiar with Bootstrap, this is kind of how Bootstrap works. It's dynamically rearranging the contents of the web page into a more pleasurable layout. And the same can be said for the grid. The grid is now taking up one whole column for each grid. Now, if you're playing with this at home, you can start a heavy CPU process, and you can see that it'll spike up, or a disk process, copying files and whatnot, or a network process, or even a memory process. It's real-time resource monitoring. Now, in our next example, we'll show you how you could do this on a remote computer.